We
What's the date?
are we are live. It is August 28th, 2025, and today we're going to talk about infinite money versus finite money. How's it going,
Well,
John?
I want infinite money, don't you, Jack?
Well, I mean, the sound of it sounds so good, Infinite money. Like I
Yeah,
have infinite
infinite
money
money.
or I'm
You
making
can buy whatever you
infinite
want.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could have anything. You could have it all if you had infinite money.
Well, we already have infinite money.
What do you mean?
Every country on Earth already has infinite money. You know, Jack. You tell everybody.
It's all fiat. It can all be printed. There is no fixed supply of dollar bills or Chinese or Japanese yen or I can't remember which currencies, rupees and ruples and euros and Canadian dollars and all of that. Each of those governments can print more of those whenever they want.
Yeah, and they do every year.
And they do. You just look at the US debt year over
Yeah.
year and you will see where most of the money is.
So, okay. So we have infinite money. So what? What does that mean?
Well, I guess it goes back to that over time, um, the amount of value that they are worth, each of those units is going to continue to go down further because there's going to just be more and more of them made. And what will happen to the people that hold on to those is that the amount of things, stuff, services, etc., that they can buy with that is going to continue to decline year over year. They will be able to buy less stuff with the same amount of money next year as they could today.
But
And
oh, go ahead. Continue.
well, and that's essentially uh, value extracted from them each year and given to those that can print the money.
But if we have infinite money, then can't just everybody be rich? Can't everybody have food and health care and land?
Uh, well, I mean, I'm no expert on any of those subjects, but I mean, perhaps we could. That's we're talking philosophical things at that point, but um, if you the more if as you print money more and more, eventually it is becomes more and I mean it approaches zero in its value a little bit more each time it's print each time more of it's printed.
But if everybody printed $10 million, couldn't we all own 100 acres of farmland?
No, because if everybody had that much money, then the farmland would go up in value to match the amount of money that's being printed. They're not making more land. So the land is always going to be worth that whatever that value that it is. Call it, 100 acres for, 1 Bitcoin, or I don't know how much 100 acres cost, but just for an example and an easy math, we'll say that 100 acres is $100,000. Well, you know, the maybe it's 1 Bitcoin or $100,000, but next year it might be worth 1 Bitcoin, but worth, well, no, I guess it would because the value of Bitcoin would also go up, but uh, essentially the dollar is going to continue to go down in value, so you're going to need more and more of it to buy the same amount of land over time. And
Would you say that the amount of land is finite?
the amount of land is, like I said, they aren't making more of it. Yeah, it's definitely finite. There's some interesting innovations in creating new places to build structures, but it's not the same because it's not arable soil. So you can't grow more food on it, for example. You can maybe put a structure on it, but you can't. So in essence, yes, until we can get off this rock and get to the moon more permanently or Mars more permanently, like there isn't any more land. All the land that's here is going to be here, and it's never, for the most part, it's going to be what we have.
And that's an important concept. And I think people might not even understand that. In fact, I know people don't. I gave a ride to somebody one time and I was trying to teach him about gold and Bitcoin and stuff. And I was trying to give land as an example of something valuable and finite. And he was like, "What? Like land is not a big deal." He's like, "There's land everywhere. Look at all this land." He's like waving his hand as we're driving down the highway. "Look at all this land. There's so much land. Like land is not a scarce thing. Land is not a valuable thing." I was like, okay, like I can't teach this dude anything. And what he was waving his hand at was a cornfield.
Yeah.
And that cornfield was owned by somebody and it was worth millions of dollars. And he's making thousands of dollars per year. or a month even on that land. Like that wasn't, and but to this guy and my passenger, it was like, oh, it's just land is just worthless garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Now
Well,
he wasn't from the United States. I won't say where he's from, but we're not going to worry about that. He was from a place that doesn't value land.
sure.
That's where he's from, and um, and 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 when you have a place that doesn't value land, you know, it's important to recognize what is finite and what is infinite. Now, the Earth is very large, so there's a lot of land because the Earth is large, but that doesn't mean there's an infinite amount of land.
Right.
There is a fixed supply of land,
Yep.
and there is not a fixed supply of dollars or Canadian dollars or Turkish lira or Chinese yuan, the fiat currencies. There's not a fixed one. There's literally an infinite. They can literally print trillions and trillions. They printed so much lira that it was $1 trillion for one meal. A trillion lira, I'm sorry, a trillion lira for one meal. Um, and that's happened in other fiat currencies too. And that's the destination for every fiat currency
Yeah.
before it fits.
Up
And then they just start over again.
up until this point, that's been like there's 100% of the fiat currencies over time go to zero.
Yeah.
100% of them.
Yes. And if um so and there's some other infinite currencies besides fiat currencies, such as seashells. The sea is always making more seashells.
That's true.
Now, there's like if you took a snapshot in time, right now there's a finite number of seashells. It's a large number of seashells, but it is finite. Like let's pretend there's 1 trillion seashells in Earth right now, but it's not finite because next year there's going to be 1 trillion and a million more seashells, and 2 million more seashells the next year after that, right? Like, but the old seashells are still piled up, and so seashells are not infinite because we can, or they are infinite,
Because there will
most
always be
close
more
to,
of them
close to
created.
infinite. Because we can
Yeah.
always make more. Now it is limited by like how many
There's an
creatures
inflation
are.
rate.
Yeah. There's an inflation rate, and so and glass beads is another way. Like glass is made out of silicon dioxide. Silicon dioxide is sand. Happens to be one of the most common elements on Earth, and so as long as you can shove sand into an oven and make glass out of it, and I don't know any more than that and how to do it, but um, you can make more glass beads. So the supply of glass beads is kind of infinite as long as you have sand.
Well,
And
yeah, and I mean, you could make the argument of, oh, well, no, because eventually you'd make the entire Earth's, amount into glass beads, and it's like, well, sure, but then you would be able
that
to
is
just
true.
you would be able to go to the moon though,
That
and
is true. And it would take a really long time. That
yeah,
would take, I mean,
yeah.
because there's a lot of sand.
But for all intents and purposes, in this argument, like it may as well be infinite because
Hmm.
there you would never like in a human lifetime in a human in like a generation after generational lifetime, you couldn't make all of that sand into beads. Like it just couldn't happen.
Right.
And
And then
so,
and then you have something like gold or silver. So are gold and silver infinite or finite?
uh, again, for me, and you and I have I maybe a disagreement on this, but for me, gold may as well not be finite,
Mm-hmm.
and instead may as well be infinite, because sure, there is only so much of it in the Earth's, you know, body.
Well,
Uh, but like first of all, the Earth could also likely just make more gold, like naturally over time. I think that the amount of gold that could be down there, we can estimate based on how much we have pulled out, but maybe we find the mother lode that we never realized was there before now. And we realize, oh my God, there's way more of it here in the crust than we thought based on this deposit. Like there's just so much that we don't know. And like people pull gold out of the ground faster whenever it goes up in value. And it's not like
yeah,
they run out of gold, they're still pulling gold out of the ground. So,
yep, you're absolutely right, Jack. It is very similar to glass beads and seashells, right? Like, yes, the Earth itself is finite, and there's a certain amount of gold in the Earth's crust. And you're right, there is more gold being made very, very slowly. I think gold. Actually, I don't. Actually, I don't think that's the case. I think there's more lead being made from the decay of radioactive metals, but I don't think anything decays to gold necessarily, except for inside of a star. So I'm pretty sure the amount of gold in the entire crust of planet Earth is finite, but the above ground amount of gold continually increases,
Sure.
just the same as glass beads can continually increase because there's so much sand. Even though the amount of sand is finite, there's so much sand that you can make what seems like an infinite supply of glass beads. Same thing with seashells, and same thing with gold and silver. However, we mentioned inflation rate somewhere in there,
Mm-hmm.
and the inflation rate of silver happens to be around 5%, meaning the supply of silver above ground, like mined and refined, grows by about 5% every year. And gold, the amount of gold above ground, mined and refined, increases by about 1.5%, 2% every year. Um, so they are, yeah, it's definitely like not quite finite, not quite infinite, but like getting somewhere in between, I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah. Like technically they're finite, but as far as I think
But not
any,
really. But they do continue to grow. They're not. I
well,
mean,
but I mean,
yeah,
eventually you could theoretically
yeah,
mine the entire Earth, right?
yeah.
So,
Earth, and then it would be finite.
right. And so to me, like it is technically finite. However, as far as any normal person is concerned, it may as well be infinite. You know,
Yes, but
because we don't have the technology or the capability to mine enough of it to make that much of a difference in anyone's lifetime.
right, but it is expensive to mine. It does cost over $1,000 an ounce to mine it. Something depending on where it is, 12%. Like the newest deposit that they discovered in, I think, Sierra Leone or somewhere in Africa, costs about 12 or $1,700 per ounce to get it out of the ground.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And and it's worth $3,400 an ounce, so they're mining it. It's profitable.
Sure.
And so, like, seashells and glass beads don't work out. Printed pieces of paper don't work out at all. Like that's the most infinite money of all, is the fiat.
Mm-hmm.
And even more, and at least it used to cost money to, the paper money was on cotton with fancy ink. That was expensive. The coins used to be made out of copper and silver. Now they're made out of and nickel. Now they're made out of even worse metals like zinc and I don't know what else. And even then, it costs 6 cents to make a penny. So they don't really make physical dollars or change anymore. They concentrate on numbers in a computer because those are very cheap to make and very infinite. And that's what fiat is now, is numbers in a computer they just make more of.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then you go down the spectrum to silver. Silver's more expensive to mine than glass beads are to make, and seashells are to collect. And but you can still do about 5% per year profitably. And gold is more rare than silver, but is very mineable and very able to pull it. So how do we get, and so then the interesting question is, well, what is finite money? And I would argue that before 2009 there was not such a thing.
I'm sorry, say that again. But before
Before
when?
2009 there was not such a thing as finite money.
Oh.
We only had various forms of infinite money with varying inflation rates. I think land might be the closest thing to finite that we had
Mm-hmm.
before 2009. I would say land, but like you could always mine more salt, more spices. You could always grow more crops, more food. You could always figure something out, right? With just about anything. You could always mine more gold at only 2% rate, but not at 0%. You could get more gold, so it was not finite. And I think land is about the only thing we had that was finite, which is why it like blew my mind that this guy like did not think land was valuable, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
he just the concept of finiteness, this guy couldn't wrap his head around, and a lot of people can't.
Sure.
A lot of people like think there's so much land out there, like, oh, there's so much land, like bullshit. Try to buy some land. See how much land there is.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I bought a quarter acre of land, which is like 100 feet by 100 feet. That cost me $300,000. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, land is expensive as fuck.
Yeah.
And of course, it's because it's in a nice suburb in a nice city, but whatever. Um, and
Well, it
so,
also had a house on it.
and it all time. And the land was worth the house was valued at 125,000. The land was valued at 175,000
There you go.
because the house is from 1959 and was full of mice and mold and squirrels. But the land is worth more than the house. Um, and that's another thing. Like, most people wouldn't even realize that. Most people would look at my house and never, and it's fixed up now. I got rid of the mold and mice and squirrels, but I mean, it's in progress of being fixed up, but it's livable. And you look at my house, it's a livable house. You would never guess that the modest, 100 foot by 100 foot yard is worth more money than the house itself. You wouldn't guess that, but it's the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's because the land is finite, but we can always build more houses. The houses are built out of wood. You can always grow more trees and chop them down. Then you got more wood. Well, you run out of wood and grow more trees, chop them down. Then you got more wood, right? Like, the wood is infinite. Now
Which we
again,
are doing on an industrial scale already,
yeah,
like as a
we're
race.
chopping down the wood
Yeah.
faster than it grows is the problem. That's why we're struggling as the environment is struggling, is because we're chopping forests down faster than we are regrowing them. But that's a different topic.
Yeah.
Basically, that's just another example. Lumber. It's just another example of an infinite, not a finite money.
Right.
It's infinite, but with a certain inflation rate. I don't know what the inflation rate of lumber is. It's pretty high, I would imagine.
That'd be an interesting
But
calculation to see, though.
right, but that's why houses. We did in our last episode that we may or may not have properly recorded. Since 1970, when we came off the gold standard, gold has 100x in price.
Right.
The E500 has 100x in price, but houses only 20x in price.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure that's because of
Well, we can make more.
you can make more.
There's an inflation rate to houses. There's
But
no
but
inflation rate to land.
yeah, but also notice how my land is more valuable than my house, and I
Right.
do not have a lot of land. I have a quarter acre of 100 feet by 100 feet
Right.
yard.
Because they're not making more land, but they
Exactly.
are making more houses.
On land that's more and more scarce. So
Right.
land becomes more valuable than the house itself.
Right. Because people
So,
are buying more land every day. You're right. Correct. Okay.
so
But
the
in
first thing
2009, yeah.
in 2009, the first finite money, the first thing that was finite, period, besides land, is Bitcoin. And that's the main thing that's cool about Bitcoin. One of the main things that's cool about Bitcoin is Bitcoin is not infinite money. And most people, when they hear about Bitcoin, they assume that Bitcoin is infinite money. And Jack, the reason people assume Bitcoin is infinite money is because all the other money is infinite.
Mm-hmm.
Every other money that humans have ever touched has been infinite money. All of our money is infinite. Silver is infinite. Gold's infinite. Glass beads are infinite. Seashells are infinite money. Salt is infinite money. Fiat printed paper money is infinite money. Bitcoin is the first finite money. And then people go, oh, look at all the other cryptos. You can infinitely make more cryptos. And yes, you're right. You can. You can infinitely make more cryptos, but you can't make more Bitcoin.
Right.
And they're like, well, you can. What about mining? Well, the mining in Bitcoin works differently than the mining in gold. With gold mining, if you double the number of miners, double the amount of laborers, double the amount of trucks, double the amount of refineries, you will probably double your production of gold. It'll cost you twice as much, which is why they don't do it, but it's doable. Like, it's possible to do that.
Mm-hmm.
With Bitcoin, you can double the amount of mining machines overnight, but that will not get you double the amount of Bitcoin because there's a difficulty adjustment. The Bitcoin program adjusts itself. It senses that there's double the amount of mining machines, and it makes the math problem twice as hard to solve. That releases the block reward every 10 minutes for the block. So you can double the amount of miners, but
Or the compute rate that they possess, really, the
yes,
amount of hash power that they can,
yeah, you can
put
double
out.
the hash rate. You can double the hash rate in the world, but that doesn't double the amount of Bitcoin coming out. It's still going to be 3 1/8 Bitcoin per block from now until 2028, and then in 2028 it'll have again to 1.5 Bitcoin per block, and then in 2032 it'll be I guess 3/4 of a Bitcoin per block, approximately. And you
0.75,
just
yeah.
keep having like that, and you're like, okay, well, how is Bitcoin finite money? How is it not infinite if they keep making more Bitcoin? They're making less Bitcoin. Inflation rate gets cut in half every 4 years. Okay, great, but there's still an inflation rate. Yes, until
And
2144
when
when
the
the last
last
block,
Bitcoin is mined. Yeah.
the last Bitcoin, the 21 millionth Bitcoin is mined. The very last Satoshi of
But
the 21 millionth
but
Bitcoin.
John, but John, that's so far out in the future. Like that we're back into it may as well be infinite. If it's so
Yeah,
long that it's going to take that many years for the last one to be mined, like
yes, and it gives people time to wrap their heads around finite money. There's an inflation rate now, just like there is for gold and silver, and fiat currency, which has a higher inflation rate than silver. Um, Bitcoin has an inflation rate right now, and but already 19 million of the 21 million Bitcoin that are
yeah,
ever going to exist are already
99% of them are already out in the wild.
89. I think honestly, I think it's 90 or 95.
Yeah, I don't know, whatever.
Might be 90.
I'm not the maths guy. That's you.
Well, this is a good time. Pull up CoinGecko. This is a good time for that.
All right, I happen to have CoinGecko right here. Would you look at that? Am I sharing my screen? Yeah, I am.
Yeah, I see it. Market cap 2 trillion. You click on Bitcoin. It should go to number of coins in circulation, max supply. Circulating supply was that 18 million, 19 million.
Where's that at?
It's right. Yeah, down two more.
Oh yeah, circulating supply. Yeah, 19.
19.9.
Yeah, 19,912,962 of the
Yeah,
total
that's
21 million.
yep. That's really close to 95% of the supply is already out. There's only 5% supply left total
Mm-hmm.
that will ever come out, and it's going to take 100 years for it to come out.
Mm-hmm.
That final 5% is going to take 100 years.
Yeah, and so like I feel like well, but because it's going to take 100 years, like well then like how is it not just infinite money to me from my perspective?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's close enough.
No, no, it's not. It's
Right. I
not.
mean, you're right, Jack. You're right.
No,
You're right.
I'm
I mean,
actually just making a devil's advocate argument
yeah.
because the reality of it is that it's not the same. It's nowhere near the same.
Well,
And it's
finite.
and the impacts of it being finite are going to be are already being felt and will continue to get stronger and stronger each year as we approach the time when no more of them can be mined.
Yeah, Bitcoin will be ultimately finite in the year 2140. And yeah, it's not quite finite until then.
See, and
Uh,
I think that's wrong, right? Like I made that argument as a stance, but like I believe that I've heard Bitcoin described as an intelligence test, and I can get behind that idea, I guess, from a concept, because you can look at Bitcoin and you can see, well, but this, but that, and the other thing, and it's like, yeah, but then why are we in it, right? Well, we're in it because I believe we see that it is in fact finite already, right? And we've now come to the understanding that basically everything else that you can hold your money that you can hold as money is non-finite, except I was thinking, John, maybe art, right?
like Picasso's
Right, art
or
could be
Van
because
Gogh.
they're unique.
New
There's
art, new valuable art is being made though
sure, but it's
by
different.
different.
It's a different kind. It's a different. Each
Right.
one of them is their own,
Yeah, it's a
unique.
little collection. No, you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So like
That's
that,
that's why
there's
art
something
holds
else.
value very well. Like Picasso's and Van Gogh's hold their value very well.
Right.
They're excellent. Those are excellent stores of value because the supply is finite of those artists.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And
Yeah.
so that's good. I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
famous artists that are dead is definitely finite money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just a shitty form of money
It
because
is.
you
You,
can, it's shitty medium of exchange.
it's
It's a good store to do.
hard to buy pizza.
Yeah, it's just not a good medium of exchange, not a good unit of account. And dollar. But yeah, and you know 95% of Bitcoin is already out. Whereas gold, that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
Gold doubles in supply every 30, 35 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's definitely not 95% of gold above ground. If anything, there's at least 95% of gold below ground still, waiting to be mined. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't even know how much there is, but there's probably plenty. Um, it's just, costs money to get it out is the only thing. But yeah, and I think that's why Bitcoin's valuable. Now, no, there are additional cryptos, but none of them are as decentralized as Bitcoin. None of them are as secure as Bitcoin. This is a proven fact over and over again. None of them are as manipulatable or immutable as Bitcoin is. Like even Ethereum, like
Has been rolled back.
yeah, it's been rolled back because it's not as immutable as Bitcoin is. Like that right there, that's all you need to know. Like now, is Ethereum pretty good? Yes, it's pretty good. I even own some, but it's not as hard of a money as not as finite of a money as Bitcoin is. In fact, Ethereum has no maximum supply. Now they do have a set in stone supposedly emissions schedule that varies based on chain usage and all that. So that their inflation rate is definitely like fixed, like within 2 or 3% of zero. But they changed it before; they could change it again.
Right. Right. Which,
So,
yeah.
and Bitcoin's inflation rate cannot be changed. That is set in stone. And people have tried. People have tried to change it. The big blockers. There's the block size wars from 2017,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the big blockers tried to change the inflation rate and try to make bigger blocks so that for good cause to try to make Bitcoin faster and less expensive to use. But too bad. That's not what Bitcoin is.
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin is slow and expensive and finite. Period. There's every other crypto is faster, cheaper, and less finite.
Mm-hmm. And so again, yeah, to put a fine point in it because we're well
Yeah,
over 20
that was
minutes.
it. That was my final point.
Yep. Yeah, just to kind of button up from my end, yeah, there are some other things that you can utilize to store value. You can hold money, you can invest in them, and it's not a bad idea to diversify, but understand the power in the difference between being able to make more of the thing that you're investing in
Right.
versus not being able to make any more of the thing that you're investing in. It's
You
a
nailed
it's
it.
it's a powerful concept, and keep that in mind when you're out here trying to do your own research. Okay. We'll wrap it up there. Thanks so much for checking us out. If you like the stream, please give us a like and help us get the video out to other folks. If you'd like to, get more of this content, feel free to subscribe to our channel. And if you ping the notification bell as well, you will be informed next time we go live. Thank you so much.